Hi everyone. It's me, the usual. So this is gonna be a different stream than normal. I know I've been saying that all week, but just another little ahead. This is gonna be different than normal. Alerts aren't on. My redeems aren't really on. It's a bit more serious. This is something that I want to try because I'm a little bit passionate about it. It's more of a podcast, but yeah. This is not the usual. Well, I mean, I'm still here. So that's usual. But the content isn't the normal. So I hope that this is neat. I'll get into it in just a second with Gray, but yeah. Thank you for coming. We're gonna fade out the music because we don't really want any distraction. So, by the way, before we fade it out completely, a special thanks to Sombrero for loaning this piece of music out to this. This is cool. He's in the credits at the bottom of the stuff now with the where all the artist credits are. If you scroll down on desktop, yeah. Anyway, thank you, Sombrero. Very cool. Anyway, let's get rid of this and let's bring in Gray. Hello. I think I just caught the tail end of a burp. We're starting off strong, baby. Oh, man. Can't hear Gray? Oh, uh-oh. Technical difficulties in my stream? Never heard of it. One moment. One moment. Get that fixed here. What in the hell? Yeah. Okay. Gray, speak, please.
I'm speaking now. Hello.
I'm gonna turn you up a little bit on their end. Okay.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
Yay. Anyway.
I'm glad that the burp was muted.
yeah. They missed the burp. They just heard me talking about it. They'll never know if it was real.
They'll never know.
They'll never know. Anyway, so this is the first episode of the Games That Bind Us. We'll see if there's a second one after this. But a quick little blurb on what this is about. The Games That Bind Us is a talk show about tabletop games and what ties us to them. It's going to be a deep dive into how tabletop has shaped us, what we love about it, and the enrichment surrounding tabletop itself. From GMs to players, the show is supposed to be a love letter from us to the games that have shaped us and those that bind us, right? So, because, Gray, I think both you and I are very, very, very into tabletop, and it's kind of a cornerstone of who we are to an extent.
Yeah.
So
I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah. So as the kind of subtitle to the title is finding the soul of the game. Yeah. This is what it's about. We're gonna get a little abstract tonight. That's not to say that we won't talk about like stories that we've had, or like stories from the table, or what we think about certain mechanics. That could come up. That's totally fine. But at the end of the day, we are going to end up steering into a more abstract place when it comes to talking about tabletop, is the plan. So I have some prompts and questions, and I'll be kind of leading the conversation. But yeah, Gray, you know what? Let's start it off easy.
Okay.
How long you been playing?
Okay, so I can almost put it down to the day. Ooh. Almost. I started. Let me see. I'm going back in time. I'm counting down. I was a a sophomore in college,
Mm-hmm.
I had just gotten back from my my excursion in archaeology in the Southwest. So I want to say that it was I want to say it was January of 2017, but I feel like it might be a little bit sooner than that because I'm between like 7 to 6 years
Mm-hmm.
on how long I've played tabletop.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
trying to decide whether or not I should count my first ever experience or not.
I mean, when I go right ahead. We don't have any hard set rules yet. It's the pilot episode.
Hey, uh, my first one was terrible. My first
Ooh.
experience was terrible. It actually which is really funny that I'm here now, because it almost made me stop playing tabletop altogether. It was that bad.
Man,
Yeah,
I've
it was not good. I went to a fucking game store for it because
oh, those are always the worst.
yeah, it wasn't good.
Okay,
It was
never
a
mind.
bad idea.
I've had I've had good experiences in a game store before. That is it is possible, but my worst has also come from a game store. It's you're gonna get anything. You don't really get to vet it,
Yeah.
so buyer
Yeah.
beware. Um,
Yeah. Should have been made aware of that. Also, sorry, chat. You're gonna hear me scraping at the bottom of my ice cream carton.
yeah, we here are all about quality on Jetman J, which is why you'll hear us moving around doing things. Oops.
Eating.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows so
Nope.
much otherwise.
You cannot get between Gray and ice cream, lest you perish.
You want to lose a limb?
Yeah. But yeah, no, so yeah, no, I started sometime around no, I actually know when. It was the summer between my junior and senior year of high school, so 2016. Or sorry. Yeah, the summer of 2016. Um it was just my buddy. He's like, "Hey, I've been wanting to play this and I got the stuff to DM. You want to be a player?" And none of us knew what we were doing. It was very much just like, yeah, fuck it. But it was very fun, and he was good at DMing.
That's good.
Still is. So,
Hey.
but yeah, it was no, my first character was a dwarven rogue. Forget. I think it was like Thorin Frostbeard. Very very generic dwarven name. And classic first player experience of yeah, he's here for the money.
Yeah.
He's here to make money.
Keeping it easy.
Yeah. No, but hell yeah. So like, is I gotta ask, is there anything that like drew you to it specifically?
Uh, my buddy Chris, my best buddy Chris. He had asked me to play the game with him because he had been wanting to. He'd been into it for a while, and excuse me. Once we got out of high school, and everybody kind of went their separate ways. Chris, my buddy Wyatt, and I were pretty much like the only three that kind of remained, right? Of like that friend group. And every week we would get on Skype back then.
Oh
Boy.
man, good old Skype.
Good old Skype. And we would play video games every week. It was just our thing so we could keep in touch and have fun. And, Chris still to this day is one of my best friends. I love him to death. And when my best friend tells me that he wants to try something out and he is asking me to participate, of course I'm going to try it,
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I mean, similar situation here. It was my best friend.
Yeah. Yeah, Skype days, man.
Yeah.
Shit. But yeah, he was the draw, and then there were two things that besides him that I was like, okay, I think I will like this. The first one was I looked up on YouTube, just like if anybody was playing Dungeons and Dragons, because I'd never seen it on YouTube yet. It never came across my path. I hadn't like fucking done anything with it or anything. So I was like, let's YouTube Dungeons and Dragons. Like, let's see what pops up. And the Wizards of the Coast, Curse of Strahd one was there.
I think I know the one you're talking about. Maybe.
I think so. Maybe fucking what's his name? The bald guy who always wears the ball cap.
Yeah, Chris. Chris Perkins, I think.
Yeah, Chris Perkins. Yeah, Chris Perkins was the DM, and I watched that, and I was just like, okay, it seemed interesting enough. I liked the aspect of the game. I think that's where I got the like, this is how you play the game part, and here's what the game of the game is like. I said, okay, that's pretty cool. And then I will weirdly remember this. I was doing laundry in my basement, and I just had the D&D stuff going in the background, and an episode had ended.
Yeah.
And you know YouTube autoplay. I'm like halfway in the fucking dryer, so I didn't like press anything. And then all of a sudden I hear like a video start, but it's not D&D. But it was a Puffin Forest animation, like the first one he ever did.
Oh shit.
Yeah, of the Critical Role one where it's Terry and Grog like punching out the guards because they got scared or whatever. And you know, I at the time I was on an animation kick of like watching animations and everything, so I saw that I was like, oh okay, I'll watch this, and I was laughing my ass off. So yeah. I'm like, where the fuck does this come from? And so then, you know, I did my clicking. I scrolled through whatever. I was like, what the fuck is Critical Role? I'd never heard of this in my fucking life. So I just said, all right, well, they had a funny segment. So I think I put in like, you know, funniest, yeah, you know, or like most whatever the fuck moment of Critical Role. And it brought up the murder box or the kill box episode where it's Grog fighting Thordak. And it was the moment where Grog was coming down to kill Thordak, and then everybody erupting into cheers at that point, and in celebration. I remember like I kind of like took a step back. I stopped doing laundry. I stopped everything I was doing because I was like, holy shit, people are having this much investment. People are having like this much passion and emotion over this game. I'm like, I remember I got like chills. I was like, oh my God, you know, like what led these people to this point? And so I went back and I started watching Critical Role. And then when I got to the Killbox episode again, I was like, oh, I get it.
Yeah, it's that. I think my first experience with that, it was like a clutch nat 20, but it's like that first, oh, I get it. I get why people are invested. Yeah, I mean it's I mean D&D is collaborative storytelling, right? That's all it is, with some randomness made with the dice, you know, to keep it interesting. But I think for me it's key that like for any character I make, I have to be so sure of the idea. Like any character that gets put pen to paper, that I have thought about that character for probably weeks, at least. And it's like, I get really invested in the character I'm making because it's like, I want to be invested in that character, and I want them to succeed, which is then also really counterintuitively crossed with, I will let this fucker die at any point. Like, if my character dies, I'm going to be wrecked, but I'm ready for it. Like, I got my seatbelt on, still a car wreck. But Yeah. So it's yeah, investment's definitely like a huge part of it, and I think definitely seeing that episode you're talking about, like, yeah, that it's a perfect showcase of it. Like, if you
Yeah.
can show someone that, and it's like, oh, so that's what it does.
Yeah, it was the perfect storm that could have happened to me. That I saw it and became invested in the idea of Dungeons and Dragons specifically because I didn't understand like tabletop RPG before then or anything beyond D&D.
Yeah.
But at that point, it was like, holy shit, it really hit because even further, there are layers to this shit, man.
Fuck it. It's a talk show.
uh, I love writing. I always have. Like ever since oh boy. Wow. Oh boy. I actually had to like grab my desk because of like how far this goes into the layers of how I ended up here invested in D&D. Holy shit. I haven't thought about this in years. Um I've been writing for a very, very, very long time, and I still love writing to this day. I write a shit ton of short stories just for myself. And young Gray spent 4 years writing a 382-page book that he still has
Nice.
and has never done anything with it, but it's still there. So stories really meant a lot to me and still do because in my mind, stories are what give us hope. They're what inspire us. They are things that drive us forward in a lot of ways because, I mean, the power of a story is incredible. It can do so much, and that's a whole other conversation for not at this very moment. But seeing the power of a story amidst a group of just people, and in their moment of celebration, their moment of a epic climax of the story, where it hits so many people and gets the goosebumps and gets so many people. Uh, I don't even know what the word is really, but it gets so many people excited, to put it
Yeah.
simply,
It
is something that attracted me so much that Dungeons and Dragons can do that with a story, like just something, just a fiction story. That's incredible. That's
yeah.
what I would strive to see. That's what I would strive to be a part of. And that was something that I was striving to create at least once, a story that moved people. And I then saw Dungeons and Dragons in that exact moment. A lot of thoughts going through Gray's mind 6-7 years ago. I saw in that moment Dungeons and Dragons to be that new outlet
Yeah.
of creation of stories for me. So that's what got me into it. I guess that's the long form answer of how I ended up here. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Mine's not too dissimilar to an extent. I had heard about Dungeons and Dragons and had been interested for about a year by the point that I finally like got to play. Um and it was most like I to this day I still have trouble keeping up with live plays. I think the best I've done is with Dimension 20 just cuz it's like shorter stories.
Yeah.
I don't fall off the wagon as easy with those. But it's like at that point I had like lightly like kind of seen some D&D stuff and I went, this seems neat. I'll get around to it eventually. Well, here's the thing about being friends with the nerdy theater kids is that a lot of them end up playing D&D. So I was eventually invited. And yeah, and then it was very much just like a like, well, this is interesting, this is neat. I can get behind this. I like coming up with stories and I like reading and writing and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it didn't quite click for me until we were doing Minds of Fandelver, right? And we were still fucking around. Well, in Minds of Fandelver, there's technically a green dragon that in there, right? That if things go wrong, you can go and fuck with. We were starting to run away from the green dragon because we fucked up. So here's the thing: I don't do modules really. I don't read them. They're not my thing. I don't like DMing like that. Not how I do it. So maybe there isn't a green dragon in there. I will never know. I choose to believe that it's there.
Fucking Schrodinger's dragon.
Right? So now that I have that off my chest, I choose to believe it's there because it made this really interesting where we're like, getting rid of zombies, but we're like, and we're, I forget. I think we had at that point been just causing kind of some genuine mayhem, right? It was, first characters for all of us, pretty much. Yeah. So we were just kind of doing whatever. And to kind of get us towards a place, our GM's like, yeah, there's kind of a green dragon in this area. You might want to, get to where you're going quick. Because it could be a little bit of a problem if you're caught outside. It's a young one, and, so it's not like a threat to, as much of a threat to towns, and it tends to stick to the swamp, but right? Just kind of that GM, like, trying to push us along the story, because it's excited for something. Which it was like a goblin camp or something. But we were like rolling to run away from this young green dragon. And I remember like the sorcerer just tripped and fucking ate shit in the swamp. Like face first, like skids along the muck, that kind of thing. And I'm playing this dwarven rogue. And I'm like, can I roll to like get him up while I'm running? And it was very much one of those, if you roll a 20, you can like totally get him up without any impediment, right? Mm-hmm. The age-old, roll a crit. I dare you. Yeah. So I did, and I like immediately like fireman hoist this fucking scrawny ass sorcerer on my shoulders and start fucking running. And it was that oh shit, this is really like that was the moment that all the chemicals lined up and went, oh, I see.
Yeah. Endorphins, serotonin.
Yeah. My friend isn't dying today. Yeah. But yeah. I want to take a quick little step back for a second. Because Gray, I know you're pretty into mythologies and cryptids and the like. So I do have the question of, when it comes to mythologies, are there any that you specifically find yourself drawing from more than others?
Oh Lord. I can reverse that. I can tell you what ones I avoid more than
sure.
Other. Greek and Roman, I totally steer clear of, like 9 times out of 10. Not only because it's like I have a very limited interest in those, but mostly because there have been so many people that I've been around that were like, be more professional than saying what you just wanted to say, Gray. That have been
no, it's fine. It's still this is still fucking whatever.
Right, but I mean, it was gonna be a little bit rude. That were overly obsessed with those things, that I was just kind of like, I look at it now and I have like that reaction to what most people have to like when they drink too much of a certain alcohol and they can't look at it anymore. You know,
see.
It's like that for me with Greek and Roman mythology. I'm just looking at them like, you know. So those I wholeheartedly avoid, but everything else I draw from pretty equally, I would like to say. I definitely have more of an attachment to things that you would, I guess, typically find in like a folk horror scenario.
Yeah.
I definitely have way more of an attachment to those.
Yeah, folk stories rather than like epics or whatever.
Yeah, because I grew up with those folk stories. I grew up in like the perfect setting for the folk horror story to begin.
Yeah.
So I
New
have that
Jersey.
New Jersey. Fuck yeah. It's always funny when that comes up too. They're like, "What goes on in New Jersey?" I'm like, up. First of all, a lot. Second of all, the Appalachian Mountains. How many fucking cryptid folk horror stories come from that fucking mountain range? A lot.
Yeah.
And I lived right in the middle. No joke. Right smack dab in the fucking middle of it. So of course I'm going to be surrounded by that stuff.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, that's what I avoid. That's what I'm attracted to.
Neat. Yeah, I have always had, and I can trace it back to a book series, but I've always had a love for the Fae, right? Like fairies and stuff like that. And so, because I loved this book series as a kid called Fablehaven.
Oh my, you know what I have right next to me?
Yo!
Fablehaven.
Hell yeah. I fucking love those books. They're fucking great.
Snow had a couple of them, and when she was moving, she just gave me all of her books. So now on my shelf right next to my desk, I have, what is it, 2 copies of Fablehaven? I got 2 of them.
Oh, Krypton. Here's the kicker, Krypton. Because also Artemis Fowl was within my purview of things I read and enjoyed a lot. So but Fablehaven is like the crown jewel for me. I loved it a lot. But yeah, so I've always I always like throwing things into the Fae at some point when it's a more fantasy thing. Because it's just like, I don't know, I like all the obtuse rules and faux pas and everything. That's
yeah.
And it's the mischief. I like the mischief.
Yeah, that mischief is fun.
Because I mean, you know how I DM.
Yeah.
Mischief is how I do it.
Yeah.
But yeah. No, so in like, so then when it comes to we all base our work off of something, right? You cannot make something completely original. It's just, I mean, you can, but when it comes to writing a story, it is going to be very rare that the entire thing has not had inspiration from something. In fact, I would say it is nigh impossible.
Yeah.
Right? You have been influenced by something somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Bound to happen.
Absolutely.
So the question is like, when you build a story, right? Because I know we DM very differently. When you build a story, where about do you start? Like, for me, for example, I start with a map. I start by making a map. Beyond the concept phase, right? At first it's concepts, then it's a map, then it's like, okay, this is where this stuff is, and it ties to that over there, right?
Yeah.
So
okay.
Yeah.
Boy, where do I start? That's an excellent question. I would say more likely than not, I start with either a genre or a gimmick is where I begin. So genre obviously is just kind of like, all right, what am I feeling like writing something for? Do I want horror, which I love? Do I want sci-fi? Do I want just a regular high fantasy? Do I want a modern a mystery or something like that, I will oftentimes start there, and then I just kind of formulate. But on the flip, there can be the gimmick. Excuse me. Like for Puzzle Box, for example, I started with the gimmick of first person amnesia. I was like, okay, that's because I think we both remember we were a part of a first person amnesia campaign.
Yeah.
That was not great, and we did not greatly enjoy.
It would be a great book.
Yeah, it would be a great book, not a tabletop game.
Yeah.
So, I remember one of those sessions afterwards, I had said to you and I had said to Snow, it's going to sound really, really terrible, but I think I can do this better.
I mean, that's how a lot of things start. Like,
yeah.
In all honesty.
Yeah, people get this idea, like seeing something, they're like, I think I can do this better. Or I think I can do this differently, in whatever way. But definitely about that campaign, how it went and how poorly all of us who were involved, not just you and I, did not enjoy that. That definitely was, excuse me, I want to try and do this better because, like, I had been getting warnings from people, like all throughout my D&D experience, where it's just like you have to avoid first person amnesia anything. You have to. It's not fun. It can't be made fun. It can't be this. It can't be that. Everybody just giving me warnings. And then after being a part of it and like having a control where I could examine it and see what I didn't like, see what just did not work, see what other players around me liked and didn't like, that's when I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to try it. Like, let's just, excuse me, let's figure this out. And then, I made the first puzzle box years ago, like right around the ending point of that campaign, the one that we hated, and did it with my homies, my other group that I've been playing with since the beginning of my D&D life.
Well, because I remember, I remember when Snow and I moved into your house for a bit, when we were trying to find, a place to live up there. I remember like coming across you like building maps for it. Like I remember seeing since it's already aired, I remember seeing the map for the final part of the tavern.
Yeah.
I remember seeing you build that and talk about it. So by the time we got to it, I had like forgotten any detail, but I remember it being there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. And I was at the point where I didn't think I was ever going to stream anything D&D either. Like I just, it wasn't like on my radar to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So I either start with the genre or the gimmick. I think Puzzle Box is the biggest example of a gimmick one that I've done. But there's always something in the mix of like, okay, do I want it to be, well, okay, actually another example, just so people get a little bit of a better control of what I'm working with here. The other group that I had mentioned, who I first tested Puzzle Box with, we are in the next couple months going to be starting up another campaign because theirs ended months ago now, like back in June. And so I did the same thing. I thought to myself, all right, what ones will they potentially like and whatever. And I actually have the list here of what I like offered because nobody else was really ready to DM again. But I said Star Wars. Okay, so I mean that's not really a gimmick one, but hey, it's a different one. It's a different tabletop game. Hardcore 5e or Pathfinder, where it's like the health, when you long rest isn't full or whatever. Look up the hardcore rules that come with the DMG. Pretty much that, but with a little bit different. I also threw in the folk horror one because I'm I got some ideas brewing.
That's your thing.
That's my thing. I have to, and I haven't done anything but Perpetual Night with them. as far as horror goes,
Mhm.
because that scarred them.
Yeah.
Whoops. And like a modern mystery one was in there, and then the one that they voted for and that I will be working on in however many months from now is a commoner start campaign. That was a gimmick one that I thought
Oh.
was going to be fun, and they're like, yes, that one. um which is just you start with like the commoner stat block with some minor stuff that I had collected from another place, because I had been a part of a commoner campaign at one point and I had a really good time of it.
Yeah.
It was very, very short, but it was fun. It was interesting to be like, okay, so like, do you want to be the baker? Like, what do you want to be?
Yeah. Hey, you want to be like, Sergeant Shoebill who's over there cobbling,
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
exactly. So that's where I begin, and I think some pretty good stuff comes out of that as far as fun times. So
oh yeah. I think I'd edit my statement to say I start with a map or an idea of a place, I guess. Because I've told you about like the high fantasy modern setting I want to do, where it's like
yes,
it is the gateway because the universe collapsed for a second, and it's the gateway to all other planes. That's a thing that'll happen, but I've been slowly working on that. But whatever. So to get a little bit more into the technical side, again, we're very different DMs.
yeah.
Improv versus planning, right? Because I know that you're a lot more of a planner than I am.
Yeah.
Like, because you have notes and notes and notes, which is great. I have keynotes that take up a few pages, and I remember some names, and I go for it. Which is, a fast and loose way of doing it, and I could probably stand to make a few more notes here and there. But it's like, you see people who are like, this way is the only way to do it, and if someone else does it that way, they are doing it wrong and you will have a worse time.
Gag me with
Which
a
is
spoon.
bullshit.
Yeah. Gag me with a spoon. Never has there been a more erroneous statement.
Yeah. Because it's like, if the only way I feel that you can fail as a DM is making your players not have fun, whatever that means. Because it's not fun, it's not fun to be uncomfortable, for example. I mean, that's why I've started adopting, like, putting up a content, like, giving my players, before they accept being into a campaign, like, a list of content warnings. Like, I've kind of adopted that into my way of doing things, of like, hey, you're gonna be, like, are you cool with all these things? Right. So.
Yeah. No, that's very important. But I I wholeheartedly agree that the only way that you're doing it wrong is if you and the players first and foremost, because without the players you have no game. But if everybody at the table is not having fun, that is when you fucked up. That's when you need to go back into the oven, back to the drawing board, go have some introspective moment, looking out over a beautiful horizon, rethink what you're doing.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I've even had, like, I think we've all had maybe a session or two where it's like, oh, that one probably wasn't nearly as fun for everyone, huh?
Well, see, that happens. That's called making a mistake. And what do we do as humans? We make mistakes. So, nobody's going to hold that against you. If anything, they may, your players may razz you to be like, oh, remember that session when you had the bandits cut the bridge that we were on? Oh, that was so stupid. I don't know,
Yeah.
fucking,
But
they'll
even that
razz
would be
you, but that's
exciting.
the worst. Yeah, it's just kind of like, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But that's maybe because I am a big fan of peril. Like, I love putting my players into peril.
Oh, I know.
Because like that,
I love it.
yeah, and that's another thing, right? Is the pleasure versus peril kind of thing of where do you like where because it is a scale. It is a thing that like you need to kind of balance. Because if you have just your players in peril all the time, they're gonna stop caring. They're just gonna go do shit.
Yeah.
But if it's just pleasure all the time, then they're gonna stop caring. They're gonna get bored. Right?
You need that balance.
Yeah, and every DM has their own, special sauce, their own special mixture of pleasure and peril. Some more perilous than others. I don't think there's any wrong way to do that, but I do have to say that peril is probably the tool I far prefer, right? When it comes because it is hard to have a compelling story without drama of some sort, right?
Yeah.
If I tell you, man, I went to the store and got a bell pepper, that's boring.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need to put peril in there. I need to put about how I survived the writhing hordes of Texas drivers to get to the Tom Thumb, and I grabbed from its insides a green bell pepper for my stir fry.
I'm already invested. I'm imagining Mad Max.
That's what it is out there. Have you heard them?
I've been in the car with you in Texas, brother. That shit's scary.
Yeah. So it's like I think peril and drama. I mean, there's also drama within pleasure to a degree, right? Because nothing good comes with no strings attached. Not truly, right?
Right. So, this is gonna be a long string for a second but connecting everything that you have said
with
the pleasure and peril. I think there is, which is will connect to the improv versus planning thing. Excuse me. With peril and drama, I think there are definitely ways that you can go about it wrong. Like peril in the event of like you create it because you want your players to die or you force a PC death. Why do I bring that one up specifically? Because I've been there. I haven't made it, but I've been there. Because, for example, somebody that I learned very much the don'ts of DMing was a fella named Asher. They are so far removed from my life, they probably don't even watch anything that we do. I will never see them again in my life. So honestly, I don't mind name dropping.
Hello, Asher.
Hi. You're a bit of a douche. Anyways.
All right, I'll cut that out of the edit.
Yeah, we'll cut that one. that was my little rude as a treat. But they constantly in every campaign that they made always made it a point that the players had to lose something, and they felt like it was and quote, I will never forget this, it's a stupid campaign if someone doesn't die. And it was either the word stupid or worthless. And I played in 2 of their campaigns because I was kind of forced to, kind of just because whatever stuff. So I played with them once and realized, what the hell? Hold on, sorry. Time out. One moment. My phone is buzzing.
Well, hello, chat. It's me now. But
there we go. Okay. Sorry.
Okay. No, you're good.
Good God, excuse me. So, I'm actually just gonna like mute my everything for a moment here because this is gonna be. How can I mute this? There we go. I'm also muting Discord as well. Because this will be too much. The campaign, it was, all right, at the end, they said, like, in order for this great evil to be banished, one of your characters needs to die, like as a sacrifice. I'm like, all right, end of campaign. I'll let that one go. But then I was DMing alongside them in a different campaign. This was like the college, like D&D club. So we were in the same room, and they had come up to me before a particular session and said, "Hey, I need your opinion." They said, "How does this sound?" And so they were talking about how they had set up a scenario where this portal was open, and the characters were going to have to fight to close it, right? And they offered no way out. This is also going to come back later. And they said the only way when the portal closes is when one of the players die. And this was mid-campaign. I looked at them. I said, "That's a really terrible idea." It's like, "Why?" I said, "Because you're gonna force a player's character to die for this?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "So what's gonna happen?" "Well, monsters are gonna keep coming out of the portal until one of them perishes." I'm like, "No,
that sucks."
That sucks.
It's one thing, right? It's one thing if they have worked their way into the situation and you can trace the path back of fuck-ups and failures to get to this point, right? That's one thing.
That's one thing.
It's another thing for them to just be on their merry way and suddenly a fucking hawk snatches one of their heads off their shoulders and they're gone.
Yeah, it was essentially that. It was like a necessary story beat. It was like the main plot that the DM that Asher was forcing them into, and they made a point. They can't leave until the portal closes, and the only way that portal closes is when one of them dies. And I was like, that is asinine. And I told them, I'm like, "Listen, you're gonna have to figure something out." I said, "Otherwise, you're gonna have a lot of angry people." And they said, "No, I think it's fine." To which I looked at them and I said, "Then why did you ask me?"
Yeah.
So
why drag your bag of shit into the house, open it, ask me opinions, and then go, "I promise it's fine."
Yeah. Seriously, it was, and like me DMing, like in that same room. Lo and behold, it took the whole session, and I had those players looking at me for help. I'm like, "Gang, I don't know what to do for you." And they're like, they're getting really upset about it and whatever. And when one of the players dies, they all walked away very mad. And Asher came up to me and was like, "I don't understand why they're so upset." I'm like, "I literally told you why." So to make the point of how you can do peril wrong, that's how you can do peril wrong. Yeah. That is the issue that you can do when you force the great peril of either predetermined death or a battle that your players can't win. Now, if you want, excuse me, if you want to make, at least I would say, a peril your players can't win, to drive home an idea of like, this is very dangerous, then you offer them a way out. You offer them a way to leave.
Well, and it's like, it can also go like this, right? Just because your players lose doesn't mean you have to kill them. Not all the time. Right. An intelligent enemy can go, "Man, they fought real good. I should break them so they become my servants." Like,
yeah.
Shit like that.
You can do so many things.
Yeah, there are fates worse than death that then players can escape from. And that's the peril I like, right? You've seen it plenty of times with how I run shit for you and other people, where it's always a big roll first, right? Or sometimes it's small, sometimes it's big, but it's just kind of an innocuous roll at first. And then you realize, uh-oh, this suddenly got a lot worse because I wasn't paying attention to A, B, or C. And then it is either the player gets, a couple chances to get out of this perilous situation, and if the dice really, really say so, then it becomes like okay, maybe I'm killing this player, right?
Right. And I agree with what Krypton is saying, sorry to interrupt, but killing PCs is just meh at best. I agree.
I find that killing PCs can be neat, but you have to give it the reverence it deserves.
Mm-hmm.
PC death deserves reverence and care.
Yes.
Right. Because now it's, if a player keeps on rolling their dice and the rolls are shit and they're just kind of dying, at that point, sometimes you gotta grit your teeth and bear it. They are being carried off by an ocean current and unable to, swim. Well, fuck. Not much I can do there, right? That would feel good. But it's like the point of peril is so that the players can reach their hands in and grab victory straight from its maw, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rather than, haha, I'm gonna kill my friends.
Right.
So
the way that I would, and the way that I have done PC death, because it happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's also just roll the dice in a certain way. But, treat it, and this is going to sound very morbid, but, treat it as if, that was like somebody that you cared about, like your family or, a loved one or something like that. Give it that reverence.
Yeah.
It to really make it powerful, really make it drive it home a little bit. And as much as again, morbid and kind of a weird headspace to get into for that, it definitely gives credence to the, make it count, make it something, substantial.
Yeah. So Renault's in chat. I've killed Renault multiple times in campaigns. Well, Alec did the dirty work. However, it got to a story beat where, various story beats happened, and the way things went, granted, Renault kind of drove. I just whispered directions in the back seat for this. But it's like, each time, it was something where it mattered, or it had feeling, or every time it had emotion. There was never a point I have killed a PC where it's been just, they died, lol.
Yeah.
I never, I try my best to not kill PCs like that. If they are in pitched combat and they die, that's one thing. I like giving them final words if I can afterwards, right? Because, come on.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like PCs dying, it's going to be very rare unless they have decided to take a perilous path that it's just like, you failed the roll, that's that.
Right.
Like, and there are campaigns where I warn, hey, it's pretty perilous. Like, for ARM, I warned you guys, hey, you guys are, a squad of Black Ops troops. Like, it's gonna be perilous. Right. I'm not trying to outright kill you guys. But the threat is always there. But, yeah. I don't know. I think peril can definitely be wielded wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
And it unfortunately gets wielded wrong a lot, in my opinion.
It absolutely does. I think peril is wielded improperly the most, and then there's drama that has been wielded improperly the most, where it can be very cringy. Like, first of all, me, Gray, I don't watch reality TV. I hate drama. Like, I hate that shit so fucking much. And you'll never catch me fucking watching like Hallmark or like, whatever the fuck, whatever kind of movies or TV shows that, will be pumped out into the universe stew that has the cringiest, most avoidable drama in the world that is just slapped in there for the sake of it. You know, like that is the type of drama that nobody wants to be a part of, and that's where like people are like hiding themselves in their shirts. You know, just like, oh God, why? And there's like no reason for it. That is the drama that would absolutely, I would get up from a table at a certain point and be like, all right, I'm done. See ya.
Yeah.
So that is just another thing that's wielded improperly. But going all the way back to the improv versus planning, that is when I have seen peril used most commonly improperly along with drama, it was when people were improvising. Because, you know, obviously Dungeons and Dragons, tabletops as a whole, tabletop RPGs as a whole, excuse me, have that aspect of improvisation. You need to, because you can't fucking prep for everything.
Yeah.
You don't know.
If I wanted to prep for everything, I would make a video game where they have to be constrained by the rules of my video game.
Exactly.
Like,
or just write your own damn book. It's, you know, excuse me. That you can't. You're playing with people. You are playing with others, and you cannot expect them to be prescribed to you know, your direct idea, which I've had many of horror story about that. But neither here nor there, is that when people rely on improv so heavily, they go with the flow. And, you know, rightfully so. You know, okay, well, you kind of have to go with the flow of the moment, but they have nothing planned out. So for an example, not a specific example, but just a general one. You know, like somebody has an NPC, right? Just NPC A. And then there's the party. And let's just say they don't really have planned out, you know, the anything of this NPC, this you know, their personality, their, you know, what their goals are, or like maybe even anything about their backstory, nothing at all, right? But they plan it where the NPC is going to communicate with the party. And so they kind of go with it, and then out of nowhere, you know, there's this moment where, you know, the party does something, let's say, to the NPC, where the DM is unsure of how this NPC is going to react. So they just go with their knee-jerk reaction, and they create this drama of, you know, okay, well, the NPC is angry, or the NPC maybe seems unfazed, right? Mm-hmm. And then when session is over and they look back at it, they're like, oh fuck, what the hell do I do here? like what do I do now? I didn't think about, you know, how this NPC was going to react. Are they going to become like the enemy? Are they going to be, you know, a friend or whatever? And that interconnecting drama causes the DM some headache, where they just don't know what to do then. And then they just continue to say, okay, I'll go along with it, whatever. And they continue, and then it becomes either a hollow drama or a character or an NPC in their story that is not something that drives interest, that everybody's just kind of like, oh, well, this is either awkward, this is weird, or this really just does not seem to be intriguing in the story. And then you just kind of leave yourself at a dead end, as an example. Again, very general, but like I've seen the improv of certain things get just fucked, to put it kindly.
So here's where I come in and drop a little something, because I'm the type of DM that does that improv.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make an expansion on your saying and say the improv needs to be done right, which is a rare and practiced occurrence.
Ding, ding, ding. Where's a bell? Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. Because when it came to, like, multiple times, it's been, oh, that's where we're going. No, that makes sense. Okay. How would that go? Probably like this. And I roll with it. It's very... I legitimately... And if you looked at my notes for things, you may be kind of... Your head may roll at times, because I take so few notes.
Mm-hmm.
So... I will be out here swinging for the improv DMs, with the sidebar of holy fuck, you have to do it right. You have to know when to, pump on the brakes a little bit, right?
Yeah.
It's
I'm sorry. I gotta step away for one moment. I have to make a phone call, but I'll be right back.
Yeah, no worries. I'll just kind of
apologize.
I'll take some audience questions in the or
Yeah.
plan things in the meantime because
Cool.
Yeah. Anyway,
Awesome.
Hello, chat. It's me, not Gray, and so there's only one other option. Me, Jay. Haha. So yeah, no. Convenient in my time of need of knowledge. Well, congratulations. We're probably gonna start slipping into more the abstract soon. A little bit. But we'll get there. We'll get there when we get there. But yeah, no. I mean, when it does come to DMing, I think it does follow a lot of the rules of improv, in my opinion. Where it's, it is that in turn, like, hey, this is going this way. To suddenly stop it in its tracks would be wrong. Let's just go with it, right? And that's kind of always how. That's a large basis for how I do my DMing, which is not for everyone, right? Don't get me wrong. The way I do it is not the way it should be done every time. I've definitely had my fair share of blunders. And it's not the cleanest style of DMing either. But yeah. I'm not going for, high production, critical role, whatevers. I'm making, this funny little garage game from my garage. Well, I don't have a garage, but you get the point, right? It's the game you'd play in your friend's garage or something. It's not the game on a soundstage. And I think that's another thing, actually. Here will be our side conversation of actual play and the two sides of it, right? Because there's actual play you'll see. Yeah, I run more casual table games. There's actual play you see that's very high production, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think people always need to be able to hedge their expectations of, well, this guy's working a 9 to 5, and he's running this game for us. So yeah, he may have to say, hold on, wait, I actually meant blank, not, his whole spiel. I need to drink of water really quick, one moment. But his whole spiel of stuff of where it's like this entire planned out, series of events and full monologues pre-planned, I think planning can go way too far, and it's very easy to fall into that as well. It's easy to fall into either side, so. But yeah. I don't know. We're, D&D's for anyone and everyone, really. Do it how it makes it fun for you. That's my advice. If you're gonna play D&D or any other tabletop, do it how it makes it fun for you. So it become overwhelming for me? That's fair. The only thing you should take away is that if it is not fun, then it is not good. So long as you and the players are having fun, then you're fine. Hardest part of D&D is finding people that like to play D&D the way you like to play. I would say that is definitely a hard part, for sure. I've been pretty lucky because I've always heavily vetted who I play with. And it's just like, whenever I grab someone to play with, I know a lot about them, right? Um, I don't like doing pickup games. I'm very picky. I've had people ask if, I ever want to run stuff in the Discord. Like, every now and then. The answer is no. Because it's just like, I would only want to play with, how I want to play. And I need people that understand how I do that. I have to kick out a player soon because his style, while legitimate, doesn't mesh with the table at all. Huh. And yeah, I agree. Have you, talked to the player about it? There are times where you sometimes do need to sit down with the player and say, hey, I see this is going on. What can we do to make this better for the both of us? Right? With any relationship, the GM to player relationship requires a lot of communication. I check in with my players pretty often, especially if they're not checking in with me on their own. I reach out, pretty regularly on hey, how was that session? Or is there anything I can do for this? Or, how can we make this work? So, communication is very key, and I would recommend making sure that you have sat down with the player and communicated before going the option of, please leave my table. My time with this, I've run into the power player, the selfish player, and the story player, and each person has been in every direction, some more than others. I would say that... Yeah, I mean, those are 3 archetypes for sure. Power player being I'm going to do all the damage, I'm going to do all the stuff. Selfish, wanting all the stuff, and then story, wanting the spotlight. And I think, yeah, those are 3 archetypes that are very common. Welcome back.
Hello, yes, sorry about that. A very important phone call I needed to take. So
no worries.
Why things are happening at 8 p.m. at night?
Who knows?
But whatever, I'm here.
All right.
I hope you all had fun while I was away.
Yeah, just kind of had a small little talk about whatever's. Some about improv, some about playstyles. You know what? Do we want to take a small tangent into how we deal with players that may be posing an issue?
Or do we? Yeah.
Okay.
I got a fucking playbook.
Okay. We're gonna go small tangent so we have time for, because we're about to start diving off the deep end here. Okay. I was gonna start diving us out. So.
Okay, so small tangent. Gray does have a playbook of how to deal with players, because I've had so many. I've had players range from just, they don't mesh at the table to they have crossed a serious, not okay line of racism and sexual harassment. So I have my playbook, but my first and foremost is that I have a litmus test before anybody comes to my table, and this is preventative to get rid of bad players. But excuse me. It's still one that works, where I say to the people coming in, no matter how well I know them, I always say, listen, this is first and foremost a game. Remember that. This is also not just your story. It's not just my story. It is our story. We play this game together. It is a collective effort. So act like a team. Act like a group. This isn't just about you. You're not the main character. I'm not the main character. That's it. Also, if you are disrespectful at any time, if you show any signs of hate or harassment or anything, I will kick your ass out faster than you can blink. And, good God, I need more water. And if you have any drama with anybody at the table, do not bring it to the table. Talk out of game. If you have any problems during a session, step away, communicate just well enough that either you guys can work it out or you both realize that you cannot be at the same table anymore, but do not bring it here. Nobody wants to deal with your drama. Nobody wants to deal with your bullshit. figure it out at the door. That's been my litmus test. And so far, it has worked because I've had people literally walk away at a certain point after I've told them that. So that's my preventative litmus test. But dealing with, a player that doesn't exactly jive is just simply, like I have just simply, taken them aside after a session and been like, hey, listen. So I see how you play the game and I see how everybody else plays the game. I've also talked with other players. Usually I will always bring it to the other players to be like, hey, do you find this to be a problem? Do you feel like this doesn't jive with the rest of us? And, I'll just say, look, this is what we are thinking, either, if you could maybe lighten up a little bit on, an aspect or two, that would be great. It makes us feel more comfortable as a whole at the table. Or, we really do apologize, but if this is not something that you like necessarily enjoy, maybe this isn't the table for you. I put it very direct, 9 times out of 10, because I don't mess around. 9 times out of 10, it's just kind of like you need to be. That way everybody knows what page you're on.
Yeah, it's a like you can't dance around it because then it's just going to be drug out and it's going to make things worse.
Exactly. So you bring it to them, and if some feelings may be hurt, but then you just have to say, it's not because of we think you're doing something wrong. If it's like a power gamer or something along those lines, it's not because we think you're doing something wrong, but it's just not the play style of everybody at the table, and it seems to collide in certain ways. And I've had 2 people who just kind of left afterwards, and there was no hard feelings. They're just kind of like, yeah, I was kind of noticing that too. So, like, thank you for having me, and you all seem really great, but I'll go my separate way. That's pretty much how it ended because I was direct. On the flip side, when it came to very not okay things, I legitimately just kind of said, okay, get out, and no further explanation, to which they're like, what? No, leave. Don't come back. And as simple as that. Never a second question.
The short or long, there was so this is why I stopped going to game stores. There was a player that came in who tried to initiate some sexual assault on an NPC who I then just vaporized. I was like, oh yeah, she's wearing an amulet of Saloon. Anyway, the moon burns your flesh away and you die. Leave my table. And that was that.
That was that.
And then I never went back to doing games in a store again. Because I was just like, man, nope. And that's why I so heavily vet who I play with. I'm so paranoid. But it's like, because people also worry about doing the wrong thing, and it's like, listen, when we talk about doing the wrong thing, we're talking about that fucking neckbeard at the game store who tries to bring sexual assault into things, or the weirdly racist guy. Yeah. We're not talking about, oh, you made a slight social faux pas, or maybe you made your character a little abrasive because, he has a backstory and he might be a little abrasive or something. That's whatever. Yeah, we're talking about the people that are just being fucked up because they feel like they can be. And we have to remind them, no, you're not allowed to be fucked up.
You can't fucking do that.
Yeah, you're not allowed to be fucked up like that in this setting. No.
Yeah. Funny one. Really, really funny one that I gotta say of like somebody who like was really not cool. It was the first person that I ever had to kick out of a game. This young woman made a character that was literally anything with a pulse she wanted to fuck. And I was like, that's a little awkward for everybody at the table. And at every turn, and I mean like this was session 1. At every turn, anything that breathed, she said that she wanted her character to try and fuck. Like can I persuade them to? No. So whatever. That goes on for about 2 hours, and I realized this player is not here for it. Like they should not be at this table. And after like one point, they got so upset that I wasn't letting them do that, that they straight up, I shit you fucking not. They had like their own player's handbook. They slammed it closed, threw it on the table, grabbed their pencil case, and fucking hucked it at me. And I let it hit me. I was like, okay. And they
you can
walked
leave now.
out. They walked the fuck out. And what was even funnier is that her partner, she still stayed in game, and she was one of the nicest players we ever had. I was like, holy shit. And she just sat there, looked at me, said, I'm so sorry. And I let her stay. The partner was totally fine, but it was really, really funny that that one player got so mad she fucking hucked a pencil case at me and left. I never saw her again.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not letting you fuck the orc that's swinging an axe at you right now. All right, he's a little busy swinging an axe at your head.
Oh god, it was. I laugh. I had. What else could I do but fucking laugh at that? And I still laugh at it to this day.
That feels like a fucking comedy sitcom fucking piece of bullshit, right? Some absurdist fucking bullshit.
Oh, good lord.
We were talking before we went on this tangent. We were talking about character death, right?
Yes.
I would like to bring up an opinion of mine.
Ooh, opinions.
That loss is a perfect and horrifying tool when it comes to storytelling, and D&D specifically. It doesn't have to mean death, though commonly it does, in a lot of, kind of things. Whether that's a player death because, something went wrong, or the death of an NPC that was planned, something like that.
Sorry, I just saw Zerona's posted.
Anyway. Yes. Lost.png. Anyways. Or lost.jpg. No. Anyways. So it's like, in my opinion, I believe that loss is probably one of the most powerful tools we have at our disposal as GMs. However, it is to be used with great care. Because, and we kind of touched on it already, but I wanted to express my full opinion that it is quite, in my opinion, the perfect tool for getting a character to do something.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Okay. Because it's, I don't know, it's like, it can be material, it can be something else, but it's, loss is loss, and I think loss is probably one of the most powerful things that we experience as people. To a degree.
Oh god, yeah. Yep. That is very powerful.
Yeah.
And again, it doesn't have to be death. Like Ronald saying, like loss of an item, loss of a relationship, loss of a home, loss of a meaning, like that stuff breaks, ruins, but also I want to say borderline inspires.
Drives. Maybe.
Yeah, drives. That's the word. Drives people. Because I mean, shit, it's nature. Oh boy, nature. Holy shit, it's nature.
Good old Mother Nature.
Good old Mother Nature. Dear God. But yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree with that, and that, like, that's the thing too, where it's like, if you don't, boy, how do I put this? If you want the players to feel those emotions, you don't have to kill. You don't have to die.
Oh yeah.
You can do it through other means. It is very plausible.
Yeah. I think as GMs, something we do is we both create something we specifically mean to destroy, right? We've all built things that are specifically meant to be fucking obliterated at some point, just knocked over. And in that, we also destroy to create those experiences for these characters so that they can then be built up again over something new, a new resolve, or, maybe we're building the spiral down. Like, during Nessus Scum and Villainy, right, when Recon died, right, that shit was built to destroy, baby. It like at a certain point, I knew what was coming, right? Of like, Snow was like, "Hey, I'm kind of getting tired of Recon. I'm gonna play it out still, see what happens." So I had already been like, "Okay, I have like a couple plans."
Yeah.
But it's just like the in the destruction of that character, it was the growth of others. And I think loss, funnily enough, can also be by giving someone something. Again, in Nest, the holocron given to Entak put him on a spiral down, and it just kept on getting worse, right? So it's like, I think far too commonly people see loss as only a material thing. Whereas I think loss is a lot more of a malleable tool that could be used more sometimes, I think.
Yeah.
I like cursed objects. Yeah, I mean, that's one way. I like the idea of, and again, this is something I do. I wager with my players.
Yep.
I give them stacked odds and go, listen, I will make this situation different for you in some way, but you have to give me this. Or you have to go against this, right?
Yeah.
And I find that way more fun than just... I like the potential loss of it. I like the fact it's hanging over your head. And I know that's not really, like, in the spirit of some games, right? Mine are a lot more laid back. But, yeah, I don't know. I guess just something to touch on there. It's just loss is really, really neat. And I like the scars and memories it brings into play, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think just like my, I guess, preferred one to do is that some people see as loss, but is the closing of a chapter, like a closing of a part of life.
Yeah.
Because I mean, and this is where how can I put this? This is where I draw from myself in this portion, because like your old pal Gray has gone through a lot of change in his life, a lot of closing chapters, a lot of closing doors, and many others opening up, right? And I often remember the feeling of like loss and the heavy amounts of change when those things happened. And it was mostly not because of, bad things happened, but because of the fact that, it was a matter of maybe leaving people behind, or knowing that I can't go back to another place in the same way that I used to, that I would love. And taking those steps away from that chapter, I look back and I say, damn, it's the missing. It's missing those things. It's wanting to experience those things again, which is what a lot of people experience, like when like you're moving, or you're leaving. For some people it's leaving college, for other people it's also leaving high school, like it's things like that happen, I guess. It's the only word that comes to my mind. But for me, when I have thought about it, I utilize the loss of, like, so you see this thing in game, you see how, this arc, this part is coming to an end, and these things that you enjoyed are not going to be the same. That's what's happening now.
Yeah.
And for example, there is a particular moment in Puzzle Box which has not yet aired, but it wasn't, the way that it happened wasn't meant to be painful, but it was meant to be a small, I guess, relatively a small thing that would be the change and the loss for the characters that, is not going to be the same anymore.
Yeah.
So, in a minor way. Doesn't have to be always like this hard-hitting, I hit you over the head with a fucking hammer, impactful, but just the small stuff can also make that difference.
For sure. It's like it's the small things of like, so my buddy who kind of my buddy who introduced me to DMing, he ran what we've just kind of called the cyberpunk campaign loosely, the sci-fi cyberpunk campaign. It's had a few titles, right? It's more of a universe, a world, if you will, than anything. But I remember we were playing in it, and I was playing one of my favorite characters I've made, Miles Fantel. He was a getaway driver. He was a street racer, and he was kind of a skill monkey. But the moment you put him behind a gun, he didn't know what he was doing, right? Which was fine because we had like a jacked up fucking Marine that could put on power armor, like, and he wouldn't look out of place. We had some killers. I was not that. I had a machine pistol that I barely knew how to use and missed with a lot. But what was really fun, or what that piece of loss that you talk about, is at one point it was like, this story is getting too big for Miles. These guys are going to become powerhouses in this universe. They're becoming like guardians of the universe to keep order. They are becoming literal forces of order personified. And that's too big for Miles. And so the loss was the fact that I had to be like, no, Miles wouldn't do that. That's too much. He wants to own a garage and, the fastest cars he can get his hands on and continue doing illegal street racing. Because that's how he lives, right? That's what he does. And it lined up because I had to leave because I was moving as well. So maybe the loss is kind of two things impacting to one, and maybe that's why I feel it more. But it was the loss of, like, it was the loss of that potential of knowing that Miles could not take that. He would like. He's no longer a main character. He would be happily a side character that helps him out every now and then, but he's not built for that.
Yeah. No, I shakes your hand. Yes.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. I like that we've touched that loss is more than just someone died, something's missing. Change is also loss in a way. And I actually very much like that analogy of it. But so we kind of touched, right, on putting bits of us into the game, right?
Yeah.
Or you kind of did. I didn't really have much input to give, but I kind of want to talk about. I do want to talk about those bits of the soul that we put in the game, right? And I would almost argue building, like, I would say part of building either a story or a character or something like that, is building a soul just for fun.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Because these maybe this is different. This is going to be different for people, right? Everyone's going to have a degree to which they do this. But for me, I play a character. I am that character, at the table. I am LARPing. I am full on LARPing. I've gotten better at it, but I get up and motion things out from and then I get far away from my mic and everyone gets angry and I miss in-person table. But and like I'd be here's the scary sentence. I think I'd be good in an improv group because I can swap between being that character and then being Jay. Scary, terrible sentence. But I could do it. But it's like, when it comes down to it, I think building either, an NPC character that's important. I think a world could have a soul. In my argument, I would say the world has its soul.
Yeah.
It's a separate thing. It's a weird metaphysical thing, and souls are strange, but as a concept.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think, for me at least, every character I've made, I've built a soul from pieces of my own. And some pieces that aren't mine, right? Characters I've been inspired by, places, things, mythologies, stories. Have built these characters. So it's just like, yeah, I think I stand by that whenever we are building something for tabletop to that degree, I believe we are building another little soul just for fun.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I think we do. At least, for those who, shall we say, care. Care to do that. Because, some people, I feel like, kind of make some things a little hollow on occasion and not put a soul into it as it was.
And but everyone's going to do it differently.
Exactly. Everybody's going to do it differently. And, that, again, there's many ways to play. There's absolutely many ways to play. And many ways to go about what you do. Yeah, no, I'm trying to think for myself in this. Like, I get into the aspect of making, in the metaphysical, I guess, way, or the hyperbolic. I don't know exactly the word here, but in the way of when I create a world, I want to make it feel like it has a soul, like it has substance, I guess is the best way to put it. And that goes with characters too. But let me think about this for a moment. How can I iterate this?
Well, you think I can kind of talk about. I'll talk about, and this one will be interesting. We'll talk about Therodor a little bit from Puzzle Box, because Gray. Because when we were making these characters, the most I did was give Gray a back, like, kind of. I think I gave you possibly some of the least I could have to give you the most free reign that you needed. Where we each went up to Gray and we were like, hey, this is my idea for a character, and I would kind of like to have. I'd like to kind of touch on these things in a backstory, right? These vague ideas, not even things. I have these vague ideas of what this character was before the events, right? And I think I specifically went up to you and I'm like, Theodore was not a good person in the past, right?
Yeah.
And bear with me, but I personally don't think I was the greatest person in the past. Uh, there, there, there were some things that happened, and I was also in middle school and high school, so. But what I've been loving is or what I've been really enjoying is when I understand little bits and pieces of Theodore's past, and I go, oh, oh, it's like that, or it's just like, I think I wanted, because okay, I mean, I can probably be seen as kind of virtuous at times in terms of like I believe in what I believe in and I'm really hard-headed and stubborn, right? I run a tight ship. Like my people have mentioned my Discord to me as sometimes being a tight ship, and I kind of raise my eyebrows at it, but I've also seen some other Discords and I see where they're coming from. But it's just like, yeah, when I made Theodore, I wanted that kind of fear of the past and the hard-headed, I am this way, like, I am going to be easy until you push me to this point on this thing, and I'm going to then be the most stubborn bitch you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it's like, Theodore holds a lot of my problems in him, and it's weird to talk about. It's weird to vocalize this, right? But I think, it's like when Cieli, right? The Shield Maiden, kind of what the Shield Maidens were based off of in your world after we talked about them.
Yeah.
Was built solely off of my desire to, like, just keep people I care about from harm, and then the way that can fucking poison your brain.
Yeah.
And cause you to spiral, because she was going to become an Oathbreaker and start killing to protect rather than protecting. And it's just like, I think, man, I like putting the bad parts of me in characters is what I'm learning by vocalizing this. But they're also not all bad people.
No. And that could be said for us as human beings, like we have bad parts, but that doesn't mean that we're bad people.
Yeah.
We all have, whether anybody wants to admit it or not, we all have, shall we say, like a dark side. We all do.
Yeah.
Because of whatever reason, nature, nurture, basic human nature, whatever, you could classify something as a dark side. And, when I've seen people put their dark side into a character, 7 to 8 times out of 10, I'll say it's because that person wants to work through it. Genuinely. And that, I think, is another excellent thing about a tabletop RPG in general, is that if there is that minor outlet, however minor it may be, that you can say, okay, I want to make this character to be like this, right? And whether this person is doing it consciously or subconsciously, they put in these aspects of themselves into the character or the NPC. And it provides for them this essentially no consequence scenario, where they can act upon these things. And in this imaginary world, there are consequences. And there is this active learning experience throughout a long period of time, like a campaign. It can last up to a year, right?
Yeah.
Let's just say that you're doing a weekly session over the course of a year. And this basically provides those people with a almost a borderline therapy, because they're
Yeah.
acting through it. They are performing through it. They are doing all these things with this aspect of themselves that they put into this imaginary character. So they are seeing through this lens of what things could be like, the consequences of that, and also, very strangely enough, but still believable, and I've seen it and what have you, but it also gives them the opportunity of a support system without overtly saying it. Because now imagine, this scenario of, this person's character has been expressing these aspects, and then the characters of the party members in game are seeing that, and then those people are probably more than likely, I'm going to be honest with you, going to insert some sort of advice or perspective on what they're doing. And then all of a sudden in this game, they are getting the advice and the perspectives that they had wanted but never wanted to overtly mention out loud
Oh yeah,
to
totally.
anybody about themselves. So then they are through this diffusion of information and emotions from this game, they are suddenly learning, feeling, and I'll say helping getting help for these things.
Yeah.
It has fascinated me how that has occurred, but it's it's profound. It's powerful. It is a safe space in a way. I know that this is kind of really divulged, but ultimately,
No, this
when
is this is what we're digging at. This is part of the soul of the game, Gray.
this is the soul of the game. I'm so glad that I'm seeing people like, like Waffle and Juliet here, like having that click as well, because I'm like, oh good, I'm not the only one seeing this.
Yeah.
you know
No, it's something that I've actively done and I've seen players do. Right? I've had players who have made characters that were burdened by loss shortly after they lost someone. I've had players, make characters that were scarred by betrayal after breakups or friendships ending, you know. And
Yeah.
I made a character who was afraid of his past when I was watching people's pasts get dug up that, didn't matter anymore because they were far better people. But then, you know,
Yeah.
the internet kind of got to them because their past was on the internet. I'm thankful that my parents didn't really let me on the internet as a middle schooler because I was a gross little incel. I got better. I got better. I got a lot better. Now I'm just a raging leftist. And that shit aside, I do think that it is like because Theodore is like kind of my idea with that character in the background has been, is this man, could he be put on trial for the things he doesn't know he's done? Because like he's as far as I the player am aware, he's a different person. He is not the same person that, was before. He's not, he doesn't remember. And now he's in a different environment and he's, a genuinely kind of goofy, kind of silly, but still, really prideful, burns with, passion kind of guy. But what was that when he was militant? Where was that passion driven? And that's kind of like the inner dialogue of this character so far has been, I don't know what I did, and I'm afraid of what it can be because of the fury I've flown into over, certain things.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? You know, what does getting this angry over that one thing mean when I know what I can do?
Right.
And I don't know what I've done.
It's gonna be very interesting to explore that.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that is actually, I would say, a nice chunk of the soul of the game.
Yeah,
At least for me.
absolutely. And to before I go to a like attached digression of this, Krypton, the point of the best characters are the ones that have parts of you. I agree because here's the thing: people I find find it very hard to pretend to be someone they aren't in a genuine form, like pretending to be I guess shall we say like jovial and bombastic when in reality they may prefer to be introverted or maybe are a little bit more shy. They find it to be a little bit harder. So when you are even playing a character that isn't exactly like that and you're not like a trained actor or you don't do improv all the time or whatever and you're just a person who plays a game for fun, it is in some cases a little difficult to get into that character. So when you put that little bit of yourself in there that you can relate to, like, and it doesn't have to be the whole character. I'm just saying, like, one little facet that you attach yourself to, then the entire rest of the character can be that pretend not yourself. But there has to be, I don't want to say has to be, but there more than likely is that one portion of yourself in there. That
I think
isn't.
that. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
I was gonna say, I think that anchor. I think having that anchor to a character is what can let a character flourish, right?
Bingo. Absolutely.
Because
yeah,
it's not like when you make a character and you are playing someone else entirely. If I made someone who is just not like me at all, a character, a character that wasn't much like me, once some things started rolling, was EF in Snow's Star Wars campaign. Very analytical, very, kind of thought ahead a lot more. Very much was not a lot like me. I'm kind of, I follow my heart and I'm goofy.
Yeah.
That's just kind of, I remember telling you headbutt the problem. That's not what EF would do, right?
Yeah.
But the part that made EF work is that I am hypercritical of myself, and a storyline I wanted to follow with EF was EF was going to try and figure out why he got to be conscious and not like he got to break protocol and be his own thing. And the story of EF was that self-analysis was going to start a spiral where eventually I wanted EF, because there were now, where we left off, there was EF and there was Emmerich being a copy of a prior like backup of EF. And EF did not know Emmerich existed at this point. It was kind of against EF's will, inadvertently. Just it didn't happen while he was there watching or anything. It happened out of a happy accident.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
we found the on switch.
Yeah. But EF wanted to basically tear that copy's consciousness apart and pick out the pieces that made EF what he was and why he is like this and why he can feel. And then he was going to dump the body over a cliff once he was done analyzing, because that was that. EF was cold and calculating. But the part of me that I put in there was the obsessive analysis of myself that I fall into sometimes. And then EF was a really fun character to play because of that. So, yeah, make your characters that little fucked up in the head sometimes. It's fun. give them a little trauma. So, yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I think perhaps we may have for this episode. I think we have found that bit of the soul of the game.
Yeah.
Which I believe is the building of a soul for fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah.
We did it!
Yay! No. Title drop, fireworks, confetti. Yeah. No, but yeah, so no. I think kind of as a bit of a wrap up here, I think we can start tying this up, put the bow on it.
Yeah.
What let's drop let's bring it back out of the abstract here. What is just your favorite character you've played?
Oh Lord. Shit. Oh boy. It might be Dean.
Okay.
Weirdly enough. So Dean, who is an NPC in Puzzlebox that the people have not met yet. Dean was originally a player character. From way back when. He is an asshole. He very much is an asshole. But he's I guess the trope of the aggressive caring mentor type. What's a comparison that I can make here? Oh boy, I can't really think of like a good one off of the top of my head. But like just the aggressive mentor but gives a shit about those that are nearby. Sure. I liked playing him because with the party that I was with, he was an asshole to everybody but them. And really did shine as like a parental figure and a good one. Like no bones about it. Like everybody, including myself, was like, "Damn, this would make a good dad." But when shit came a knocking and bad things would happen, he was brutal. He very much was. Where it was borderline like, "Hey, buddy, you need help. You should be arrested." But
you need like 15 separate social services to like maybe get started on fixing your ass.
Yeah, it was very interesting to play like a coin essentially, where one side was the very caring mentor parent, and on the other side was the because I'd never done that before. I'd never done like a coin flip type character like that. So I think I had fun with that and really for me, I mean, y'all know me. For me, diving into like a hyper aggressive or a side of a character that was hyper aggressive and just a straight up asshole was very weird for me. That was my first experience doing that. But I had fun with it, and it never, I guess, shall we say, it never felt like I needed to change it. It just felt like it was a good time. It was a good time for a game. So I think that's mine.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I would say I'd say Theodore is probably one of my favorites for sure.
Whoa.
I've been really enjoying them. Though I have had some really fun concepts come up. I haven't told you about my most recent, and I think is the concept I'd go with, were Theodore to kick the bucket.
Ooh.
I'll divulge for just a second. But an old man of a tabaxi who has since retired out of a crime syndicate. Rogue mastermind. He's retired. He was just kind of like... He was the guy that went and planned and got some stuff done, right? But he was never like a high up guy. But he was respected, you know? Yeah. And he just got old and they went, hey, man, you should probably retire. And then he's just kind of gone indie since then.
Hey.
But like, I've had the idea of like this mastermind artificer tabaxi that has just like is driven to continue working and stay busy. Hi, I do that. I get it from my mom. I probably get it from both my parents. But it's like this... I don't know, I just want to play kind of like that old man who can be a mentor for sure. But will also absolutely just use people because that's what he knows how to do to get the job done, and he's going to get the job done. He's getting the job done.
Yeah.
So he's a fun concept I've been rattling around in my brain, but like aside from Theodore, I think I have to bring it back to Miles Fantel.
Yeah.
Street racer extraordinaire, because man, him and I, we both like machines that go fast.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I help my dad in the garage since I can hold a wrench, right? I have a love for just machines in general, and like mechanisms and things moving, in a mechanical sense. I'm not like, and that's the thing, I'm not like a huge car guy, right? I worked on Jeeps and a...
Sorry, just the cadence that you had with that.
Yeah.
I've worked on Jeep.
Yeah.
that had like the same cadence as like the... You've been struck by a truck.
Well, here's the thing, because the other thing I worked on was like an 88 Suburban that we put a Cummins 12 valve in. So yes, you've been struck by a truck is accurate. Because that thing was a monster. We called it Moby because it was big and white. No, I mean big. We had to deflate the tires to get into the garage.
That's funny.
So he has like my just love of mechanical things in him, but he was just a lot of fun to play as like he didn't even like fighting that much, and I don't like it as a person either. I have never gotten in physical conflict. I like to think it's because I have a silver tongue and I'm good with words sometimes. But I think most of the time it's just because I don't want to. God, no. God, that hurts. Why?
I can tell you from too much experience, it hurts.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to do that. I got things to do later.
I got things to do later. I had the same thought, but I had to fight someone first.
Yeah.
New
So,
Jersey. Sorry.
good old Jersey.
Good old Jersey and good old young me playing hockey and doing amateur MMA.
Whoops. But yeah. So, I don't know. He was definitely one of my favorites. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No. Fuck. Any last topics you want to touch up on before we wrap up this pilot episode?
No, I don't think so. I think we have found a piece of the soul, and I think that's a good way to end it right here. I'm very happy with that.
Yeah. Well, I want to say thank you, Gray, for joining me on this.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. This is great.
Yeah,
I love this.
Yeah, I hope that the talk was kind of a neat kind of abstraction of things, more so than just, oh, this happened at my table and then I like this mechanic. Cause that we said like an hour ago about, oh, I could do that better, and that's how we started on X, Y, or Z.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. This
yeah.
this was very much like a, man, I don't like D&D talk shows that much. I don't like tabletop talk shows that much. They just kind of talk about things that happen to their table, and then the mechanics, and then they leave. Let's find something cool.
Deeper. Yeah. I this is something that I would listen to. Like if I was not involved whatsoever, I'd listen to this.
Well, then there's probably going to be more, because I did enjoy doing this.
Yippee!
Because here's the fun thing. I do not think that with our view combined, we will find the soul of tabletop games. So I think I'll have to have other guests on at times, and maybe find other perspectives as to what the soul of the game is, because it's probably different for a lot of us. So with that, I think this wraps up the first episode of the Games That Bind Us, and we have found that part of the soul is what the piece that you put in. I think that's a good start.
I think so too.
So, with that, I want to thank everyone for coming in. I also want to go through some thank yous real quick. Just actually one, Deezer, thank you for the 19 months. I really do appreciate it. I also want to, again, thank Gray for coming on. It was great to have you. Yeah. And I want to thank everyone. Oh, and I also want to thank Sombrero again for the song now playing. Wonderful work. Just let me pick it up off of some stuff he'd done prior, so it just kind of fit. So thank you all for watching. Honestly, this went so well that I'll probably be back with another episode of the Games That Bind Us in the near future, I hope. But we'll see what happens. I think I'm just gonna kind of cut it here. I don't think we're gonna raid. I want to leave this where it is. So thank you for watching, and next time, well, we'll dig deep again.